Good evening, everyone. Welcome you all to the webinar on password management tips and tools. We'll first start with our ICI motto.
य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्द्वैता 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 एतद्द्वैता.
Thank you. I'll now request our WIRC chairman, CA Manish Gadia ji, to address the attendees, please.
Thank you, Aditya. Maitri, faculty of the day, respected participants. It's really great to interact all of you. And as a chairman, today is my last day, and addressing on the last day is really a great. And this is the last during my tenure of the Tech Age series, which we have started at the beginning of the term, and this is the 10th in the series. And in total 10 program what we have conducted in Tech Age series, more than 3,000 participants participated in this series. It's really a great that 3,000 members are interested in technology and they understand that this is the only the future of the profession. Apart from that, as far as the technology is concerned, on technology front, we have also structured a long duration 60-hour course on data analytics, where a data of maybe a 60,000 line item can be analyzed within 15 to 20 minutes with the help of Python. And that's what we are teaching in that 60-hour course. And the fees was only rupees 9,000. A similar kind of program offered by other institute is not less than 1 lakh rupees. And there you are not getting a financial data. Apart from that, we have also started a long duration 40-hour course on Power BI and Tableau data visualization. So again, it's a worth. So as far as this is concerned on the technology front, in the year 21-22, WIRC, with the support of all the speaker, coordinator, all the members across the region, able to take 44 new initiatives. We have come out with 22 different publications for the members, which are available on WIRC website. You can read absolutely free, and if you want hard copy, you can click, make the payment, and buy that books also. The list is very long, but I will not go into that detailing because we all are here to listen and understand from Maitri about the password management. Being a chartered accountant, we have to manage not our own password, but to manage the password belongs to various clients, and it's very tough. And that same thing has to be passed on to our team also, those who are going to work on that password or on that client. So that's what we are all eagerly waiting to hear, Maitri. So thank you, and I thank all the members from bottom of my heart for the support what you have given throughout the year to the WIRC, and I hope that you will continue the same in future also. So really thank you. Over to you, Aditya.
Thank you, Manish ji. And from all the members, we all thank you, Manish ji, for driving WIRC in a time when physical meetings were not possible, and even at that era, the volume of initiatives that you took is really commendable. We surely do have a very safe hands in which ICAI and especially WRC is traveling earlier also, and probably going ahead we will see the same journey. Going back to the today's agenda, I would now like to introduce CA Maitri Chheda. Maitri had have an 15 years of post qualification experience in her CA practice. She was earlier director in a USA based KPO, BPO and healthcare IT company as well. She is a DISA and GMCS faculty for ICAI also. She is member of IT committee of WIRC. She is connected with IT committee of Chambers of Tax Consultants for last 7 years, and also with IT committee of as a chairperson in the same IT committee for last 2 years. So she has been in addition to a CA, a techie by heart. I welcome Maitri, and over to you to take over the charge of the session.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Aditya. So let us just start with the session. So problem of password. You're able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. So the problem of password management, as Manish ji rightly said, that we don't have to just see our passwords, but we have to also look at 1 second. I'll just manage my screen for a little bit. Yes. Okay. So yes, we also have to look at passwords, for our clients and our team as well. So password has become problem. Funnily enough, when I started practice around 15 to 16 years ago, I was teaching everybody about passwords. What is password, what are passwords, what exactly how to use them, how it is beneficial that you should keep passwords. So that was how we started. Around 6 to 7 years ago, I was still talking about passwords, but again, how to keep them secured, or how to again use passwords, what are passwords. So for almost 10 years, I was talking about using passwords, what are passwords. Now I am still talking about passwords, but now I'm talking about how to manage the passwords. So especially in last 2 years, we've gone online. Our profession is increasingly become virtual. So IT is not really a a long distance thing where we will dekha jayega jab aayega tabhi. That's not the case anymore. We are standing in middle of a huge IT information technology changeover that is happening. In last 2 years, we've seen that we are capable of going offline, or you're working online, working online virtually without going to office, and we are managing pretty well, right? So technology being a boon is also sometimes it comes with its own share of problems. So now understanding what problems password brings. So you talk about this what you call the instances where we require passwords. So if we talk about this, we will see that we have mobile devices and computers. We've got financial applications like banks, wallets, maybe demat trading accounts. You've got your PCs, laptops, mobile phone, e-readers. You've got your e-commerce websites. We've been ordering online, so a lot of passwords required there. Then we've got emails. Oh my God, so many emails. You've got Gmail, you've got Yahoo, Rediff, you've got Outlook, you've got LinkedIn, social media sites, professional sites, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. You've got compliance sites. Income tax, GST, RERA, MCA. You've got RBI. You've got many other government sites. Then you also have non-web-based physical passwords. You've got Wi-Fi router passwords. You've got tally backups. You've got flash drives, your pen drives, the digital signatures, encrypted folders which we send across. So many passwords, right? Now, let's just talk about compliance sites and DSE. You're talking about around 5 to 6 sites on an average. All of you must be handling, right, for your clients. So multiply that into say around 100 clients. I'm just talking about very minimal, a small this 100 clients. So you've got around 500 passwords just for compliance sites. Now add on to that your tally backups, you add on to that your flash drives, you've got your encrypted this. So that plus, you know, all the emails which you have with your team, your emails, your multiple emails, your teams. So is it safe to say that on an average, a small CA, I'm not even talking about a medium to large CA practice, but a small CA practice, you must be handling around 1,500 to 1,500 passwords. Yes, we are not in physical you know, mode, so I'm just looking, I'm just assuming that you're nodding your head right now and telling me that yes, we are, you know, following, we are handling these many passwords. So yes, now we come on to how do you store these passwords. You know, do you have something like this guy, you know, stickers everywhere that okay, iska ye password hai. Do we do that, or you know, I think some months back we had taken a, just for the sake of understanding, we had taken a survey among started accountants, and we had asked, you know, how do you manage your passwords, how do you store them. So a lot of you know, a lot of CAs agreed that since we are very good at Excel, we have an encrypted file on Excel and we just store all the passwords there. So I think around 80% of us, 80% of the chartered accountants agreed that, you know, they are storing their passwords on Excel. But those those are the client passwords. And then there are, you know, passwords which are your PC, your laptop password, or your computer, office computer password. Those are, you know, just above the PC this, or just above the PC it's written, you know, username and the password is given. So just like this guy over here with a sticky note, you know, that okay, this is the password. A lot of clients, you know, where you visit, you might have visited, or where I have visited, I have seen the accounts department, they will, you know, have n number of computers, login and password written right on the board and stuff. Again, you know, I would have liked a show of hands and asked that, you know, how many of you all actually do that. So if you are doing that, yes, so I see you there. So if you know, sometimes you forget the password and the hacker comes and tells you, I have all your passwords, sometimes you will be like, oh, thank God, at least you have it. So that's the problem of password, right? Now just let's get a perspective. The personal data protection bill, which was brought in 2019, and we were talking about it in 2020 as well, that it is going to be a defining factor in how you define your data, digital data, right? The digital and physical data, but mostly digital, yes. So PDPB, which is Personal Data Protection Bill, provides distinct rules for processing sensitive personal data. Okay, sensitive personal data, or PII, which is personally identifiable information. These are the jargons which PDPB will use. Includes following: passwords, financial data, health data, official identifier, sex life, sexual orientation, biometric data, genetic data, transgender, gender status, caste or tribe, or physical, you know, philosophical or religious orientation belief. Right. So out of these, I can count at least 5 which we hold, you know, which we chartered accountants hold. Passwords we have of all our clients. Yes. We have financial data, we have gender, we have official identifier, we also have biometric data, means we do have Aadhaar card, so I'm assuming biometric data, and we also have caste information because of you know, we have their full names and everything. So at least 5 to 6 out of these 12, so around 50% liability we have when we are, you know, holding sensitive information for somebody else, not just ours, somebody else. Now let's just see what else this personal data protection bill says. It defines 3 more terms, which is data principal, data fiduciary, and data processor. A data principal would be a living individual to whom this personal data relates. So it would be your client under GDPR. GDPR is your General Data Protection Rule, which is regulations, which is prevalent in EU. EU is your European Union. So that's the major data protection rule which has come out. I think that was around 2017, if I'm not wrong. And US really does not have a specific data privacy but it has a privacy law. US has a identity privacy law, which has been going on since quite some time. Right after 2001 attacks, 9/11 attacks, which happened, they had a data privacy law, which had come, data personal privacy law. So yes, so data subject is what a GDPR would call data principal, and so our PDPB will call data principal or a consumer a data principal. US privacy law calls him consumer and data subject. So each living individual who will have all these data is called a data principal. Now there's data fiduciary. Data fiduciary is a person, business, or organization that will hold this personal data of the data principal. So basically you will need this data to process the personal data to come up with a specific outcome or a specific business purpose. So for us, in our case, we are data fiduciary, right? When we need financial data from our data principals or from our clients to process their data and to come up with various business purposes or functions, which could be audit, which could be taxation, which could be compliance reports, which could be management reports, any kind of reports. So yes, we are data fiduciaries. Okay, we will choose how to process this personal data, and we have direct relationship with the data principals. So that is data fiduciary, right? So under GDPR, this person, data fiduciary, is called data controller. So in case you are dealing with some EU clients, some clients who are residing in EU, you are liable to GDPR irrespective of where you are staying. So it is not like you are staying in India and you're processing European entities data here, so you're not liable to GDPR. No, you are. So again, let's just keep GDPR aside. Let's talk about just India's personal data protection bill. Yes, then there's a third in the variable in this whole game, and that is data processor. So now data processor is the person who processes the personal data on behalf of data fiduciary. So now data processor in our case could be that we have various softwares which we use for processing our data, audit softwares, tax softwares. So that those could be our data processors. I have also given example of data fiduciary as Amazon. Amazon collects its data to make sales, deliver products. Again, we have email marketing company like MailChimp. So this is again, some example which is outside of our profession, but within our profession we are data fiduciary, and maybe any kind of software which we use is data processor. Right? So now we are clear with three terms: data principal, data fiduciary, and data processor. If you have any questions, you are writing it down on chat. I will have a look at chat once. No question. All right. So again, now risk of non-compliance. So what happens when you don't comply with PB? Okay, so now over here, non-compliance would mean data protection. If your data is compromised in any manner, it could be any manner where the data is compromised or used by somebody else in a way that is harmful to the client or the data principal. What happens? The failure of data fiduciary to fulfill its obligation may be punishable with a penalty of 5 crores or 2% of the worldwide turnover of preceding financial year, whichever is higher. Now 2% of the worldwide turnover we are okay, but 5 crores is the higher side. So 5 crores is the minimum penalty which it has. Now that's real, guys. It's not this, we are not exempt. So that is there. Processing data in violation of the provision. So if we are processing the data which is in violation of the provision of PDPB, it is punishable with a minimum of 15 crores or 4% of the turnover, whichever is higher. Okay, then there is re-identification and processing of a de-identified personal data. So there is a de-identification clause in the personal data protection bill, which you can maybe later go ahead and have a read, because yes, it is relevant to our profession, because we are handling a lot of data. Without consent is punishable with imprisonment of up to 3 years or fine, or both. Now fine, as we have seen, it's at least 5 crores going up to 15 crores so this is the fine. Now tell me, how is the Josh? Here again, had we been in the physical this, I would have really asked, are you scared yet? Are you going to take your password and data this policies seriously from in your office? I hope the answer is yes. Okay, so that's the risk. The risk we are facing is very high. I'm sure a lot of us have already thought about these risks. If not, now's the time to think about it. And let us look at the steps, to mitigate this risk. We are the professionals, right? We talk about risk mitigation, risk transfer, and whatnot. We've studied, at least I've studied this. So now let's talk about mitigating this risk, because this risk is there. Client data, processing the client's financial data is our bread and butter. We are not going to stop doing that, right? So the only option which we have is to mitigate this risk. Now, how do we mitigate this risk? So in this session, I'm going to talk about 5 best practices of handling passwords. So ideally we talk about data and security as well, but since this session is specifically about passwords, we will talk only about passwords. Maybe a session later about data security, or maybe a lot of us have been attending various webinars, and we are very smart on about our data security, about our security as such, information security as such. So we will not worry, but we will talk about password management right now. So 5 best practices for managing client passwords, right? So I will be also talking about characteristics of good passwords, strong passwords, weak passwords, what are best ways to keep unique passwords and yet not put a whole system, make it so complicated that sometimes somebody might say that what should I really do? Should I be working on my core business, which is my maybe audit, tax, or management, or should I be just looking at the data and worry about constantly who's going to find me, government is going to find me for this, or my audit practices or whatnot. So yes, best practices for that, and then later on we will move on to password management tools. There are actually applications available which will take care of a lot of things which I will be talking about. So those password management tools will be taken on by Mr. Parakh Jain. He's the second speaker, and the second topic of the day is password management tools, which is very interesting. So we will talk about that later on, right? So now 5 best practices for managing client passwords. The very first thing, if you have maybe seen some medical shows, or if you have gone to God forbid, you don't need to, but if you go, if you're going through a major surgery, the client, the doctors will take a informed consent this from right, that in case of the surgery, anything happens to you, it is not our problem. So similarly, in our profession, the time has come to now take informed consent from the client, saying that I am going to be using your data. You are giving me, you are handing over your passwords, your financial data to me. Okay, and we are going to be using this for intended purpose. Our intended purpose is to be signing, maybe if I'm using a digital signature, I'm going to be using to sign your financial data. I'll be using your financial data for filing of returns, and I'll be using your passwords to file this. So this is why I'm using. We are going to take reasonable care. The reasonable care is the main culprit over here, guys, where the data protection bill, the personal data protection bill, is the whole gamut is on the reasonable protection. They are saying that the data fiduciary has to take reasonable protection for the data which is held by them, right? So it's one of the widely accepted principle that individuals' personal data will be collected and used only for the purpose which has been stated. So over here, it would be a good practice going forward, that transparent disclosure is being done, and you take a informed consent. It could be on email also. It should not be a problem. Or maybe if you are in a practice of signing documents with your signing agreements, or understanding documents with your clients, maybe this is one clause which you could add, that we are going to use your data for this practices only, and we are taking reasonable practices where we will be keeping your data safe, right? Now, second, this would be your employees. Now, employees are the weakest people. People basically are the weakest link in information technology, because see, devices will not, specifically go out of their way and commit mistakes. Systems will not commit mistakes. Who commits mistake is people. Okay, so people is a paradox. It's people are your our in our case, or in any business case, people are our greatest strength, our employees are our greatest strength, and also the weakest links. How? I'll tell you. What happens is that you say you have maybe attended some lecture, you have appointed some IT professional, and you have best of everything you have installed in your office, where you have state of art antivirus and anti malware system, you have a lot of procedures, you have everything. But you have one new employee, you have even given training to all your employees, and everybody is up to date and spick and span about how to keep their passwords, how to not click on some links, how to keep your this not use your data somewhere else, or your devices have to be secured. Everything is done. But one person in your office, maybe a data, maybe a receptionist, or maybe some peon is using your Wi-Fi, and his personal mobile phone is compromised, and all the data is gone. So it's as simple as that. Your people are your weakest link. So how could your people be your threat? It could be through via phishing, social engineering, or maybe various iterations of it, like spear phishing, or maybe social engineering. May somebody gives your receptionist or your article a call, or they have installed a game on their mobile, and they've connected with your Wi-Fi, and now they are playing some game, or they've downloaded some software, and you're gone. Or they have used your office. We've been working from home, right? So maybe you provided laptops to your employees, and they've gone somewhere, and maybe they're working out of a coffee shop and using an unsecured network over there, free Wi-Fi from the coffee shop, and they're working. You don't know, they're working from home, right? So, or maybe they're taking their neighbors this, and neighbor is a nice hacking fellow, or maybe in the coffee shop where your employee is sitting and accessing your client data, and somebody is sitting around in the coffee shop and just connected through via this unsecured network, and your data is accessed. What do you do? Who is responsible? Is your employee responsible, or are you responsible for the data? Data किसको दिया है? Client ने data आपको दिया है, not the employee, right? So you really have no recourse under the law saying that, oh, I did not do anything, I had given state of art PC, but my employee went and just connected his device, my office device, somewhere else. So using unsecured network, maybe using same passwords on multiple sites, using the password, or keeping them open, keeping maybe he's not perform system upgrades, upgrade ka aata rehta hai, you've given everything, you say that okay, well, there is no up-to-date device is there, everything is licensed, your complete PC is licensed, your operating system is licensed, but there is a system update which was supposed to be done, and that employee has not done it, saying that, oh, I will do it later, and your data is gone. Maybe accidental installation of malicious app. Sometimes you got your PDF banana hai, PDF ko split karna hai, and I really don't have this right now on my PC, so let me just go online, upload client ka this PDF. I believe you require PDF to upload on your tax reports or something, right? PDF of the client's financial this. So they'll go online and upload the client's balance sheet on this site, to maybe join the PDF, merge the PDF, or maybe split the PDF, or uska size kam karo. People do that, right? Zip file, you've just downloaded one unlicensed version of zip software online, okay, and you're now zipping things and uploading somewhere. Accidental installation of malicious apps, and everything is gone. Or using unsecured data storage, maybe you have an external drive where they are taking along data, client ka data on the audit place, they've taken this drive, they're putting it everywhere, and it has a lot of hidden viruses which are there, and then now your ransomware and all your data is gone. What do? You are responsible, not your employee. Leaving information and devices laying around. I'm working here. My PC is on. I'm sitting in a shop and in a coffee shop, or maybe I'm sitting at home and somebody's coming and just having a look at my this because it's open, or maybe somebody's kid has come and taken playing game on that PC. Data gone. Again, lacks work from home habits. Even if you have given a stringent this that, employees have to do this, don't keep it on, आपने सब कुछ लगा के रखा है, but still, somewhere something has gone wrong. And weak cyber security in remote. So who is your weakest link? Employees. Now how do you mitigate that? You mitigate that by constantly auditing your employees and their habits, and taking yes, you have informed them. One is that you train your employees and you tell them that these are the things where you should be aware of. Okay, second could be that you make them sign a document. You put a maybe policy, make a policy. We'll come to the third point, which is policy, password policy. So you make aware of all your employees that, okay, this is the password policy we will be following, or data information, how you are supposed to use the data, how you are supposed to use the passwords of your clients, and how you are supposed to use your this. You'll have to constantly keep on checking upon them. So just say internal audit, hum client ke paas, when we are constantly going for internal audit towards our clients, we will also have to do our own internal audit in this manner. Yes, or else ting 5 crores ka this. So thankfully, so far I have not heard a lot of cases, but as and when we progress, it would be good. These penalties, the cases will start coming in, and it would be a good hygiene habit, to be using these protocols right away. Because if we think that, okay, when it comes later, we will see. Right now we are very small, we will not, कुछ नहीं होगा, हमारे clients भी बहुत छोटे हैं. So yes, but going forward, this could be a problem, because the personal data protection bill could be enhanced, and it could be, maybe narrowed down to where it will be applicable to you, or anything could happen, right? So now, as I spoke about in the previous point, that enforcing a password policy is a very good practice, and it should be it should be available to your employees. The employees should be aware that there is a policy my organization keeps, where we have specific rules about how to deal with passwords, how to deal with data. Data is another game for another day. Right now we will talk about passwords. So we have to define a password policy. So now what will your password policy contain? I'll take you through the guidelines. On these guidelines, you can make your own document. We are experts at making documents and legal drafts and everything. So yes, you can make, I'll just give you a overall run through the whole how to make a password policy. You will have an overview, of course, where your organization's view on passwords and their management, and your client's password, your team's password, internal passwords. So that should be the overview. The purpose would be probably, to so that we don't lose out on data, and your security, you take your information security very seriously. Scope would be the systems and people who are covered by this policy. So your employees, your contractors, your anybody who's in touch with your office and is going to be accessing your system in any which way. It could be a receptionist, or it could be also your external consultant whom you hire once in a while. Maybe you consult with some another CA or a lawyer or a company secretary. So everybody would be under this scope, should be under this scope rather. Then there is the main bread, or the main heart of the part, that is policy. So I'll be talking about policy in the future slides. And then there should also be penalty, guys. You will have to, said in case of breach by the employees, they have to be held liable. Only then they will take it seriously. So in case of breach, or maybe you find out that, okay, the breach had happened on by a specific person via a specific way. So what would be the penalty for that? So once the penalties have been made clear, the instances where your employee would just leave their data open somewhere, or maybe connect through a Wi-Fi which is in the coffee shop, or maybe just take the PC somewhere and give it to their children to play games, that would not happen. At least we will hope that that should not happen, right? So now let's talk about policy. Policy would, the main part, policy would have general guidelines. The general guidelines should be defined, like frequency of change of passwords at various levels. So yes, over here, we are saved in a way that if we are using, emails, maybe say you're using Gmail, then Gmail will prompt you, or you will have to keep, if you're using an official ID, you'll have your system administrator, define the password rules within the software, where it will prompt the users to change passwords every certain days. Those certain days will have to be given by you, defined by you. Maybe standard, a lot of websites, your banks are using 120 days, some banks are using 90 days. So 90 days is a general rule people keep, that 90 days, every 90 days you have to change your password. So 90 days would be 3 months, around 3 months. You could keep it half of that, say 45 days, every 45 days you change your password at various levels. It would be system administration level. So I have a PC which has admin access also, so that administrator level password also needs to be changed even if nobody is using it. So you'll have to identify what levels of passwords are there within your organization, and those need to be changed every few days. Your PC password, your Wi-Fi password, because how, God knows how many people you've given your Wi-Fi password to, so that needs to change. Uniqueness and repetition of passwords also has to be defined, where your password has to be unique. What all things should not be there in the password, what all things should be there. I will be coming to those also later. How you can not repeat, these are there again in a lot of this, where maybe last 3 passwords, last 5 passwords you cannot use. So thankfully, when GST site came, it started prompting for new passwords every few days. I think it's around 45 days, if I'm not wrong. So maybe 45 days to 90 days it will prompt, and it will not allow you to have last 5 passwords. So now that is set in the system, so we are safe, at least on GST front. And I think now in the new income tax website also this rule is going to come up, because the earlier website, what I remember, what I recollect is that once you kept the password, that was the password for n number of years. So maybe say you created your profile in say 2012. So since 2012 till 2021, last 10 years, the same password has gone on. So now what happens is that you have your client's password, you keep maybe say specific, or maybe you repeat the password organization wide for all your clients. And imagine how many articles have gone through your office, so everybody has those passwords and you not change those passwords. So now that income tax data is with the employees, right? Your employees have changed, your external consultants have changed, and your passwords are lying around everywhere. So not just that particular client, that anybody else's password also can be this, because the passwords are not unique. I'm using a lot of passwords in my I just hope you're getting the gist of what I'm trying to say, because I'm using a lot of passwords everywhere. Yes, so the method of communication of passwords within and outside the firm or organization will also be defined in your general guidelines, where how, if your client is asking for password, how would you pass on the password, that has to be defined. So then again, what are the good practices and what are do's and don'ts, I will be defining later. But these are the things which you need to address in your password policy, password document policy, sorry, password policy document. Then you come to a next level, where you're talking about creation, password creation requirement. Best practices, we are all aware, a lot of banks are also giving us regular information emails. Your lot of sites where you are registered, they will give you that your password needs to be of minimum length, itna length hona chahiye. So from a hacker's point of view, I would like to tell you that your longer the password is better. There are studies which have shown that 2 raised to whatever is the number, that many times your password becomes stronger. So yes, obviously we need a special character, we need a lot of mirchi masala in our password, but longer the password, it takes a lot of time to break the password. Yes, so you have to specify the minimum length the password needs to be. 8 characters is what is used everywhere. Maybe you could keep it at 10 characters. Yes, 10 character passwords are difficult to remember also at times, so for that we will have various tricks which we could use, and that I will come to later. But yes, minimum password length needs to be defined. You also have to define that it cannot be a dictionary word, or a proper name. That okay, my name is Maitri, so all my passwords would be Maitri123 or variations of Maitri123, or maybe I like ice cream, so all my passwords are ice cream123 and the variations of ice cream123. No, those are very easy to break, very easy. So no, it should not be same as the user ID. So a lot of us, if I were to take raise of hands right now, which I do in my physical sessions, and if I ask them, if your username is say admin, your password is admin123, right? It's been 10 years since I've been doing this, and at least 90% of the times the passwords are like that. If you're even in your income tax and GST cases, if your user ID is your PAN number, your password is PAN number 123 or capital PAN number or @ PAN number. I don't know, it's just the variation of that. It's as unimaginative as that. Okay, then you have to define the password expiration date. It has to expire in a certain time limit. Our banks have already are following these because they are handling our money or our personal data as well, right? So they are also liable to 5 crores and 2% of their turnover everywhere and everything, right? So you have to expire within a certain time limit. No, it should not be identical to previous passwords. Yes, we all know that. And password reset should be done only by specific or defined people in the organization. This is very important, because what happens is that if password is reset by say your client password is reset by and say a disgruntled article who's supposed to maybe leave for his study leave in maybe say 1 or 2 weeks. It's probably not disgruntled, but he is leaving, he's reset the password and that is not noted anywhere, and now you're running across trying to find out the password. Client has called, you're trying to see, and then obviously you have an option of resetting the password, and that's why a lot of people don't note the passwords down, saying that we remember. But that could be saved if specific definition is made that the password can be reset or defined by specific people. Only this person should be allowed to reset the password. So that policy that should be defined in your policy document, would be a good idea to define. Then password deletion, best practices. All passwords that are no longer needed must be deleted, or disabled immediately. So if you have a say maybe email account, or maybe your key employees leaving for a better job, or maybe just retiring, then or maybe is retiring, quitting, or reassigned somewhere, or dismissed, you have to change all the passwords. First of all, the system access passwords this user had. If you have a VPN, you have a office Wi-Fi, you have a lot of things, right? So those passwords, what needs to be done has to be defined. So as soon as that should be part of your policy, that as soon as somebody leaves or resigns, all the passwords related to that person need to be changed. The clients and accounts that person was handling need to be changed. So you have to make sure that what all access was given to this person has to be deleted or disabled. Default passwords need to be changed. So what happens is a lot of things, your digital signature, for example, has default passwords, right? So I am sure a lot of people, if you're having 100 digital signatures in your office, all the signatures will have same passwords, which is convenient, yes, per se. But if this digital signature is in hands of a wrong person, just imagine what would happen. So default passwords, at least to your digital tokens, your Wi-Fi, for example, the Wi-Fi which is given to you by Airtel or say Hathway or anything, will take in your phone number as your password, right? So now I know that if I have to go somewhere and log in, and if I know your phone number, yes, I know how to enter into your network. As a hacker or as a security professional, I would be able to access all the data via your Wi-Fi password, because that Wi-Fi password is your phone number, your mobile number. So yes, that needs to be changed. You have contractors, retainers, articles. Access has to be removed when no longer needed. So a person who has left your organization 5 years ago should not have access to your office emails. The password needs to be changed regularly. That's why. So password deletion and changing, you need, these are the best practices which need to be defined in your policy, so that constantly you don't need to repeat this again and again to every new person who joins in. It should be there, accessible for people to read that, okay, this is our stand on passwords. Password deletion we've spoken about. Now we are talking about password protection. How do you protect the password? You have to specifically mention that all the passwords, no matter whatever account it is from, have to be treated as sensitive and confidential. You cannot keep it written, it's somewhere on my laptop I have kept a chit, like, okay, iska password is this, or maybe on my desktop I have kept a file which is open, and all the client data passwords are there because I have to constantly use those passwords to access the file right now. No, it has to be treated sensitive and confidential. It should not be shared. There have to be rules about sharing, that how do you communicate or reveal the passwords to somebody, because it happens, no, you are changing your GST password for your client, and then your client office will ask that, okay, I need my password. How do you give them the password? User ID ideally should be, in a separate email, and maybe you verbally communicate the password, or maybe you give the password in a separate, maybe in an SMS which has to be deleted, and user ID will go in a separate form somewhere. So that has to be defined, and everybody should be aware that how do I communicate the password. Again, rules of storage of password. If you're storing it in an Excel sheet, how it should be stored. And if you're using, and we must be using the password management tools, which are the second session. So what should be the rules for storing these passwords? That also has to be defined in your policy. Then there is procedure of reporting suspected or actual compromise of password. Sometimes happens that you get a SMS that, okay, this account has tried to change the password, and then if any suspect if you suspect that there's some compromise or something, that procedure, that suspicion has to be communicated to the IT professional in your organization, or communicated to somebody who will take an action. So if so that the employee needs to know that if you find any suspicious activity, please inform, so that action can be taken, passwords can be changed. You can scan your systems for virus if at all the need be. And again, remote access usage, that is the most important thing in the work from home environment, that advanced authentication has to be defined, that how somebody would be authenticated to log into a certain system. If you're using VPN, then how the VPN access should be done. Should it be done from only specific devices? Should not be done from public networks? What all has to be defined? For this, you will have to take help of an IT professional of your organization and set up this policy, but it is important. Now let's talk about, we spoke about policy, right? That these are the things which we have to do. Now let's talk about the length. I was talking about the length of password, right? Now I'll tell you, these are the most commonly used passwords of 2021. Now I've been doing this since a long time, and believe me, these passwords are still the same. I mean, in 2015, when I was talking about passwords, these are the passwords which were the most common passwords, the most hacked passwords, the most exposed passwords in 2015 also, in 2018 also, in 2020 and 2021 right now also. In fact, I can challenge you that if you were to, if I were to do audit of your organization, I am sure at least 5 out of these 15 odd passwords, at least 5 must be used in some capacity somewhere, where your maybe this PC login is just password is your password, or 123456, your digital signature had 123456, your QURTY QWERTY, anything. So these are the most common passwords, and just see how much time it takes to crack it, how many users have it, and how many times it has been exposed, but we still do not learn. This is you can just go online and search for the statistics. This is the statistics taken from a IT PC magazine, and this is the result. And I'm actually very amused to say that I've been using this since last so many years in so many seminars, and this has not changed at all. Okay, so now let's talk about characteristics of weak password. So a weak password would be common dictionary based password. I had spoken to you about this, no, that we should not have dictionary based passwords at all, right? Why? I'll tell you. Because dictionary based passwords are very easy for the hackers to break. They know all the permutation combination. You will say that, oh, I am smart, I will not be using just, okay, so for example, I have a word, say secret. Secret is a word I've taken out of a dictionary, and that I'm going to be using as my password, right? So I'm saying, oh, I'm very smart. I'm not using secret. What I'm doing is I'm reversing that. I'm doing TERCES, okay, and nobody will be able to guess. Guess what? That's wrong. If computing power has increased phenomenally over exponentially over so many years. So if a dictionary can be broken in, say, less than a second, as you said, dictionary based passwords, then to reverse order the password is not a difficult task at all. It will take probably a second more, but it will be done. You say that, okay, I'll use mixed cases, because as we all know that the computer that the system thinks that a capital letter and a small letter, or maybe mixed case, the capital case and the small case, both the cases are separate in the eyes of the computer, right? So if say if I'm using a capital S and a capital T, or maybe a capital E, I'm using mixed cases, it will become difficult for the hacker to hack. No, just one more second and it will be broken. Or you say you replace, it's very typical, no, that S we will always make a dollar and then we will use. So then it's still a secret, right? No, it's not a secret. Or you remove vowels, or any iteration of common common dictionary based password is very easily breakable, right? So weak password is just dictionary based password. Again, weak password would be based on common names, pets, head, maybe your daughter, your son. So many times I have, we as a challenge with my friends, I've done this. I'm able to break their phone. Now see, your phone is also very important, right? Because your emails are stored on your phone, your OTP comes on the phone. If I'm able to guess the password of, maybe you have a what do you call, thumbprint. Yes, thumbprint is a great way to keep biometrics, any biometrics, your face or your this is great. But if you are keeping a pattern, so it's so common that your pattern has to be either your name of your spouse, the initial of your spouse, or your son, or your own self. Other than that, you will never be able to use the pattern. So it's very easy to break the pattern. It's very easy. You will have pet, you will have your children's name, or your maybe grandfather, grandmother's name, parents name, or spouse name. Very easy to break, and most of the times that is the password you keep. I can challenge. Obviously nobody will agree that this is the password I keep, but yes. Second kind of weak password would be a pattern. So QWERTY, or maybe a straight line, or maybe a circle. Those are very common patterns. I will come to patterns, using patterns on keyboard later in a smart way, obviously. But patterns, very common, obvious patterns, a straight line or a small sleeping line. That pattern is a weak password, characteristic of a weak password. One more weak password would be based on account identifier, like admin ho aap, so your password is admin123. That's based on your account identifier. Your login ID is PAN, then your password is PAN number capital, or maybe one letter upar ja, a plus minus one letter or something. Again, it's very easy to guess. Or sometimes, we are very smart. We think that, okay, password hint, maybe we will keep our password. So you say your password is incorrect. As this meme is talking about, when you click on forget your password, they'll ask a question, and the question is actually your answer. We think we are being smart, but hackers are smarter than us. They already know this. Everybody knows this, right? So you keep the hint as your password, and you think that nobody knows this. No, that's not the case. A short password right now, as I said, the common, this is 8 characteristics, 8 characters, sorry, 8 characters. I would suggest that you keep at least 10 to 12 characters as your password, especially for accounts which are very important. So your banking sites, your emails, where all the OTPs and all are received, you keep passwords which are higher than 10 to 12 characters at least, because it takes a lot of time. Even if it is all characters, all just single this, you've not put any mirch masala, you've not put one, or your special character, nothing you've put, just this, still bigger the password, more difficult it is to break. Okay, so that's how the this works, the hacking system works. So bigger the password, better. That's not to say that you should not put any mirch masala, you should not put any this special characters, or maybe a alpha capital letter or something in that. Yes, we have to keep it, but longer the password, better. So a short password, just a lot of times tally, I've seen tally passwords. Guys, you're saving your financial data in this, and what is the password? 1 or 123 or just A. I've seen a lot of times this has happened, and I feel that kyun rakhte ho password? It's just like keeping a key, locking your door, and then keeping a key besides the lock. Why did you lock it then? Might as well just keep it open, right? Then sometimes you think that, oh, I'll keep a very difficult password, itna difficult that I only will not remember. Yes, so that also has happened with us, no? So yes, that is also characteristic of a weak password, not a strong password, because no matter how this you do, how much ever difficult passwords you keep, but if you're not able to remember it, then it's a weak password, right? At the same time, if your passwords are all characters, all 1 2 3 4 5 6, or maybe all letters, even that is a weak password. Now, weak password practices, again, I have used all these. Okay, I know now that all the weak passwords are there. This is the weak password. I know my password is so strong that nobody can guess it. Yes, right. But what did you do? You wrote that password down and kept it near your this. It's like, you have state of art physical safe, uske andar apne sab rakha hai. You've kept your all your jewelry and everything inside that, and then the key you've kept it just besides the lock. It's as simple as that. So that is also a weak password practice of keeping your password written and lying down somewhere with easy access. No, that should not happen. To sum it up, passwords are like underwear. This is yes, a very naughty meme, but that is, if you remember this, you will understand that this is how the password should be. You have to change yours often. You don't share it with your friends or anybody. Longer the better, and be mysterious. You don't show them to others, okay? And you don't leave yourself lying around. You don't leave your underwear lying around. Similarly, you don't leave your passwords lying around where people can see it. Okay, so always remember, when in doubt, passwords are like underwear. Now, characteristics of strong password. We all know this. Digit hona chahiye. You have letters, you have punctuation mark, you have symbols, you have control characters. Arey baba, so much, means you keep all mirchi masala, some tantric this you do, a lot of things. Yes, it's a difficulty, it's crazy, you go crazy ki password banaye ki hum hamara kaam kare. Okay, so I'll give you some tips and tricks of strong password generation. What you could do is maybe take a phrase, or take a phrase which you really like. Maybe say like, to be or not to be, that is the question. If that is the phrase, then you could make it something like, to be or not to be. Now this is the password nobody can guess, but you will always remember, because you've just taken first letter from every this word of your sentence, and then you made it a password. Somewhere over here I have tried to make this, today is a good day for me. Okay, that is my favorite catchphrase, for example. Okay, I'm not sharing my password with you guys, I'm just giving you a trick. Okay, now this nobody will know that, okay, this is my password. Now what I will do is, I took first letter out of the whole sentence, today is a good day for me. A ko I have replaced as @ and then I've played with for ka, I've done 4, and now this is the password. Now this password, I'm sure nobody is going to be able to guess, right? Now over here you have to use your imagination. You just take a passphrase, your favorite obscure passphrase kahin se to aap utha lo, Shakespeare ka uthao, anywhere, whichever author you are, author or whatever phrase you want to use, and just work it around, and lo and behold, a strong password, right? Now another this password formula would be that you use equations. We are all about equations, right? Your balance sheet has to tally, or this has to tally, all about equations. So you just take a favorite equation and make it your password. So if you and your father, or if you and your spouse love cycling, so something like this could be your password, me plus dad to cycling, or equal to, or whatever, or maybe I love gardening, so my four plants, 4 trees, 2 rows equal to my garden, and exclamation mark. Or you could be like, my dog and my cat, black and brown color, and my dog is brown and my cat is black and brown. Or I love coffee, so coffee into love equal to amazing. Or my day starts with coffee, so I'll do something. Or mom is always scolding me, so mom plus scold is always. Or my spouse is scolding me, so wife plus scold is equal to always. Something like that. So this is a great way to make password. Nobody will be able to guess it, and it's a unique password. You will always remember it, right? Another idea would be, you just use this any particular formula, like you say two words to one number and one capital letter, right? So over here I've tried to do this, 2 words. I am saying any word, I'll take one animal, one game. So they have wolf and ludo. Then one number, 39, a random number. It could be anything. It could be your roll number, it could be your roll number in your some standard, it could be your age, it could be anything, your room number, anything, right? Just something which nobody can guess, and add a random capital letter within those numbers. So if say wolf ludo 39, that could be the password. Usko how do I change it? See, O ko I have put as 0, 1. There are 2 O's in the whole phrase. So 1 I have replaced it with 0. Then L is become exclamation mark. Then F hai, L hai, plus minus. U ko have put it in brackets. 3 hai, 3 ke upar. If I do a shift and press 9 or press 8, then it would become a star. So then 3 and star. So anything, it is my this, I can go crazy with it. So your logic, nobody else will guess, right? So this could be your password. So these passwords you could keep for your banking sites, for sites which are personal to you. And similar tricks you could come up with to keep passwords for your clients as well. You could use any kind of combination. So now even your employees or people who are making passwords within your organization, because you're not going to be for all the 100 clients, you will not be having constantly going and sitting with each and every employee of yours and making passwords with them, right? But if you give them a general theme that this is how you keep the passwords, you would always know that what would be the next password. But again, it will be difficult for person outside the organization to guess the password. Okay, and you change the themes regularly, so that somebody who's an ex-employee will not be able to guess the password, and your current employees are already bound by your password policy, and they should not be revealing the passwords anyway, right? So pretty secure, yes, obviously not a foolproof way, but yes, secure. Then strong passwords could be something like this, where you are using, I was talking about the keyboard patterns, right? So now I'm adding a trick to this keyboard pattern. Like, you play with the shift button, you play with the shift button. So this first image which you see, this is the first example which I have made out of this. So I've used shift button alternatively. So this one Q A Z is with shift button. So this is the part of the password which is generated using this keyboard sequence, and playing with shift alternatively, right? So now just imagine, this is the password. Do you think anybody can guess or even try to crack this password or understand that what is the logic behind this password? Will not understand, right? So this is a trick which you could use. Yes, I do realize that by sharing this trick, I am also making myself vulnerable. But yes, anything for the profession, right? So, okay, then you could use maybe say L3 Ls, or maybe 1 2 3 4 5, or maybe you can make a W, or maybe you make a O. Anything with, you play with the shift, and you can come up with a very good password and unique password. Then lead language or elite is a hacker's language. So there's nothing special in this language. What they do is they make and then there's no really thumb rule to this language. What they do is they make these letters in such a way that you will be able to understand the letters. Just observe this. M, if you see, M is two standing lines which we have, the dividers, and a V. This looks like M, right? Two opening closing brackets and a V. Again, it looks like M. Maybe backslash, front slash, backslash, front slash, and that looks like M. A U between two round brackets also looks like M. So this is M. So anywhere I want to replace M, I could use this, right? So this is the lead language. Lead language can be used to replace the letters which you have probably come up with in this kind of scenario, or this kind of scenario, right? So this you could do using lead language. Lead language is available online. This chart is available online. You can get it anywhere. If not, I will always be happy to share this with you. Now there is something called munged password. Mung will be modify until not guessed easily, right? So again, you're using same trick. You use lead, or you use specific this. So maybe say you take a very common word, say butterfly. Now butterfly ka B ko we put it as 8. Over here also, if you see, B and 8 is there, B and 6 is there. 6 would be represent a small b. So you've got 6 butterfly. Usme upar niche you've done, put some capital letters randomly. फिर you y को आपने question mark, y equal to y है, so that becomes question mark. E becomes 3. Then 2 butterflies में 2 t's है, तो 2t को आपने 2t कर दिया instead of double t's. You make it 2t. So now the overall combination of the password would be this. Now tell me who will be able to break this password. So you keep on modifying the password until not guessed easily. So munged password. This is also one of the trick which you could use to make a munged passwords, or a difficult password, right? So now this is all about passwords. Policy ke andar I have also covered this. Now the fourth point in your 5 best practices would be establish a single point of contact for all your password related thing. Why? Again, because if you have a say largish organization, if it's a small organization of even 10 people, again it would be always good, right, to have just one person to whom everybody will go to for passwords. So that person will define the password policy, will make sure that it is properly implemented everywhere, everybody is following it. That person will be also responsible for making impromptu checks whether the password policy is being maintained or not. If say your employees are being asked by somebody, say some random person is calling from your client's office and saying that I'm so and so, I'm the relative of this person, or I'm so and so of this person, and I need you to share the password with me, or I need you to send something to me. So you will not want your articles or your employees to come to you regularly, right? That okay, this guy is asking for password, how do I share, what do I do? So this point of contact would be the person who will look at everything. This will save a lot of complication and chaos which happens in our as we all know, right? Everybody's working on 10 different things. Somebody's working on TDS, somebody's working on GST, somebody's trying to finish this off, and five things are up in the air of n number of clients. One person is doing this. उसमें किसी ने कॉल करके पूछा, अरे भाई इसका पासवर्ड बताओ, मैं दे दूं नहीं दूं, कैसे दूं? Somebody is pressurizing. So you have you talk to this person. This person is in charge of password. So you know that this person has to be held responsible, right? So a best practice or a good way would be that you establish passwords. Now we come to the last part, is password management tool. That is the last part of your 5 practices, and this I'm going to be handing it over to Parakh.
Thank you, Maitri. Ruddeshji, you are there?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
So I'll raise Ruddesh. Yeah.
Sure. I think the topic, very interesting topic that we've chosen, and Maitri as a faculty has done an excellent job. I think it was, as we are aware that this topic, when it comes to IT, how different it can be. But I think the way the whole examples that you've used, Maitri, was excellent. So a big round of applause for this. So I think it was an excellent learning because I myself was listening to the tricks that, types of password that we should use. And trust me personally, I often, at different, one is I don't want to keep the same password everywhere, because you feel sometimes, if your password is known to anyone and all of your sites are hacked. And if you keep multiple passwords, you don't remember actually which password is where, and that happens actually with me. But I think the tricks that you've told us were excellent, and I myself am going to be using the next time for that. So thank you so much. I, on behalf of the entire WIC team, would like to say thank you to Maitri ma'am for the excellent session that you had, and thank you so much, Maitri ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Vanessa, you would like to address something? Should we take it ahead?
No, you just continue with the introduction of Prakash.
Sure, sir. So hello everyone. I think the time is now for our next topic, and our faculty is also here. The topic next is the password management tools: generate, store, share, and protect your password, right? And our faculty for the next 1 hour is going to be Mr. Parakh Jain. Mr. Parakh Jain is currently a product manager at Stripe, an internet payments company, and has been working in the tech industry for the last 7+ years. He started his career at Microsoft, where he was the program manager for one of their identity and access management solutions. Then he led the development of Azure service that allowed Microsoft's customers to more easily and securely authenticate their own consumers. He later became a senior product manager at DashLane, one of the world's leading password management solutions. He was responsible for their B2B strategy and improved their core product to better support businesses. Now he's at Stripe, exploring the fintech industry and enabling app developers to more easily build the checkout experiences. In his free time, Mr. Parakh enjoys teaching computer science related subjects at the local schools, universities, and providing mentorship to young students. I'm sure after this wonderful session, we're looking forward for the next wonderful session as well, and pretty excited for the topic. Over to you, Parakh sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone, especially the Institute, for having me here today and allowing me to speak to you about password management tools. I will share my screen. Okay. Yeah, great, thanks. Okay, so thanks everyone. Sorry, there's a webinar piece coming in the way, but it's okay. I will, so yeah, would love to talk to you about password management tools today. Just to start off and to kind of recap what Maitri said, passwords are a significant breach vector for your organization. Just to reiterate, 80% of all data breaches are caused by weak, reused, or stolen passwords. So if you think you're not at risk, you're definitely at risk. All of your employees, your organizations, even yourself, are very likely using the same password or using very simple passwords to protect some of the most secure company assets, especially your client data. And it's very important that you put some extra attention to how passwords are being used within your organizations to make sure that you are not at risk for a data breach. So for today, what I would like to do is to build on what Maitri's been talking about, actually talking about the specific uses for Password Manager, doing a demo using one of the Password Manager tool, and then rounding it up by speaking about how you can pick a password manager that is best for your organization. At the end, I will also touch on very briefly on multi-factor authentication. It is slightly different, but something also very important for the security of your company. So moving forward to what the uses are for a password manager. Many times you think, okay, well, I can store passwords in an Excel sheet. Why do I need to pay for an additional tool that just stores passwords? That's because a password manager does a lot more than just storing passwords. It can, for example, store your company passwords, but you're also like your company payment information. If you ever need to share information that is sensitive like that, you can also store notes, just small, simple notes that you can also then very easily protect using a more secure password. Like to have a master password securing all your data, you can protect all three of these things. Then it becomes really interesting after that, right? All this obviously you could do in an Excel sheet, But after that, you can start generating and autofilling passwords as you're using the internet, as you're browsing, going across websites, as you're working. It does it automatically. You don't need to go to an Excel sheet, find the row, copy the password, put it back. It's saving you seconds every time you log in, and you're logging in many times a day. In fact, you probably have about 200 applications that you're using during, both in your personal life and your work life. And so just imagine how many seconds you're saving each day, and then accumulating that over the span of a year, and then many years. So it's incredibly important. It's an incredibly productive tool as well. Third, the easiest way to share data is using a password manager, securely sharing data. What password managers are doing is that they make it very easy for you to share the password, and then if you ever change the password on your end, it automatically updates it for them. So if they're browsing the internet and suddenly the password's changed, they don't need to now look up the new password in the Excel sheet. They can simply just keep browsing and autofill the new password. There are also some advanced capabilities that you get. One is this concept of dark web monitoring. What this is that whenever passwords get breached and data is breached, it gets sent to the dark web, basically an area of the internet that you can't really scan using Google. And what happens there are that people are selling your passwords, your private information, your personal information for a little bit of money. And by this, and then users are there's a malicious actors taking this information for them to make a lot more money by actually accessing your personal and your company information. And so this, by adding some monitoring there and making sure that there is no, if there is a password that's been breached, you can then actually make sure that you change that password as quickly as possible so that you're not at risk. Second is you also, with some tools such as DashLane, get access to VPN. This is just really important if you're, in a coffee shop, at the airport, places where you're connecting to a public Wi-Fi. This will protect you from any attackers that can access the network along the way. And then finally, the most important, I suspect, is you are managing your risk for your organization and you're meeting compliance. As Maitri mentioned, a lot of the financial regulations, both in India, across the world, now have started requiring the use of a password manager, or at least a tool that enforces the passwords in your organization, because all of these financial regulators have realized how big of a threat passwords are to your organization's security and to your clients. So I would love to do a demo of DashLane to make this really real. I know we've been talking a lot about how you can use password managers, what are all the benefits of and why you need to secure passwords, but I think it would be very useful to just actually understand how to use one so that it becomes very real in your mind what a password manager does and how it actually works. So we're actually going to look at a tool called DashLane. I have installed DashLane in my browser, so no matter where you are in the world, if you change laptops, if you get a new laptop, if you ever need to just get your passwords again, all you do is you install an application and you get access to DashLane again. So I will open the application that comes installed. I just created this password, so I'll delete it. So the first thing you'll notice is like a fresh slate, right? So just so that everyone's aware, I went to dashlane.com, clicked on Get DashLane. I created a business account for now as a free trial. And now once I've signed up, this is where I land, where I get to see an empty space where there's a bunch of items I can store, types of passwords, secure nodes, personal information, payments, IDs. This is what I was referring to, that it doesn't just store passwords, it's more than that. And it stores all of these securely, meaning it's all protected behind a master password and actually encrypted in such a way that no one can access it, even DashLane, like the organization. So then the next thing you might be wondering, okay, like I have an empty space, I already have an Excel sheet, I don't want to go in and add all the items. Well, the good news is most of these password managers actually come with a tool that let you import passwords. So in this particular case, I'll click on import password. I'll browse for a CSV or an Excel file, which I've called credentials. I click open and I hit import. And I've created 5 very fake accounts. They're definitely test user on Google. These are not real accounts by any means. But I've very quickly, in less than a second, imported all of my passwords into Password Manager. And now, for example, if I were to go to twitter.com and click on sign in, it would just show up. Test user just shows up. I have to do nothing and the password gets entered. Again, this is a fake user, so it's not going to sign in. It says the wrong password. However, it would be very simple for you to then, as you're browsing, you no longer have to go to Excel, find the row, copy it, paste it here. It's all done as part of your browsing. I'm sure some of you have seen it being prompting, whenever you're using a browser, by default, it starts prompting you to save passwords. This is just another one of those things where it's asking you to save your passwords as you're browsing. So very simply put, I have five passwords. It autofills for me whichever website I'm on that's relevant to it. Then even I'm going to pick chess.com just because it's an easy, simple website. And suppose I'm signing up for the first time, right? You don't even need to think about like, okay, let me create a password, store it in Excel, etc. I can just go in, say test user 1 2 3 4. There's a test user already. P demo 1 2 3 4, right? Test yahoo.com password. So now this is another benefit of using DashLane is I no longer even need to think about creating a password. So all the passwords that Maitri was describing, all these patterns that you can think of, there's no more mental headache. All you do is you click on use generated password. It is going to be incredibly secure and uses all of the multiple like the capital letters, lowercase letters, numbers, symbols, all of that is done. You have to do nothing. You can and it just immediately will prompt you to, do you want to save this account in DashLane? You say save. You can create your account. I don't want to create my account right now, but it's as simple as that. And as you can now tell, when I go back to DashLane, chess.com is there. I have to do nothing. And so when I come back the next time, assuming I had signed up, if I go to login screen, it would be there. But I haven't, again, created an account, so it didn't sign in. Very simple. You can even see what your passwords are here from a handy drop down. If you were like, if autofill didn't work for you, you can just click on the item, copy password, copy email, copy login, and it will all you can just copy it and paste it here directly. The second thing you could do is, if you wanted to just generate passwords on the fly, this is the password that's been generated. I've generated a new one. It's very simple to generate passwords. You never have to think about it. Now, a big concern I had before using password managers is like, okay, what if I don't have a password manager? It's going to be so hard for me to type these passwords. What if I don't remember it? At least like, if I used 1 2 3 4 with the ice cream and my child's name, it's very simple for me to like know, okay, that's the password. In my experience of using a password manager for the last 2 years, I've never needed to know the password. You can download the application on your phone if you need it. You will always have it handy, and if nothing else, you can always sign into DashLane in order to actually like copy paste the password. And sure, you spend maybe 2 minutes at that time to actually get the right password and enter it, but those 2 minutes compared to the thousands and millions of times you've had to store the password and autofill the password, it's just a really good trade-off. Great. So now we're going to talk about, so we've talked about obviously having passwords, being able to, create all these passwords. Let me talk about the other things. So secure note is simply, like imagine a text file where you just type random notes. This I find really useful for storing those backup keys or even just like sensitive information, account numbers that that are very in raw notes. It's just really easy to have it all in one place. I don't have to keep finding Excel sheets. I don't have to search Excel sheets. It's all in one place. When it comes to even my personal life and keeping track of like special account numbers that like my grandparents are using, for example. It's all in one place for me, and it's very easy to find. Similarly, personal information and payments information, everything is stored in here. And the best part is if you're storing credit card information, again, if you're browsing on the internet and somewhere you have to do online checkout, you can very quickly enter that information without any problems. Okay, so I've been talking a lot about password managers. Hopefully this makes it a little bit more real. I do want to now talk about the security aspect of it, and then the team and why this really helps. The more folks in your team use it, the better it gets. So first, I'll talk about security. So there's this password health concept that DashLane supports. Every password manager has a slightly different thing, but they're all trying to do the same thing, which is they're trying to highlight what are the passwords that are secure, what are the passwords that are being reused, and what are the passwords that are weak. The reason, again, this is really important is because this compromise, the weak, and the reused passwords are the passwords that are causing 80% of those breaches, right? So bringing this number down, the compromised, reused, and weak passwords, bringing that down is really, really important in order to mitigate that risk. And then, DashLane even makes it an easy game to try to increase your password health score, which is just like a summary of these numbers. So clearly I've been using both, I actually created all the same account with all the same passwords. It's really, really bad because, I'm reusing passwords across all the websites. They're also weak at the end of the day. I can very easily, for some of these actually, and I can't do this because they're all fake users, but I can actually just click on change password. So for example, if I click on change password, it'll tell me exactly what I need to do in order to change the password. Or in some cases, such as Facebook, it'll actually do it for me. So if I just click on confirm, it'll actually go to that website, sign in for me, go to their go to the website and then change the password for me. Again, it won't work because I don't have an account, but it's super simple and will help sort of increase the account, increase your password health score. Again, all of these passwords are reused. This is really bad. You don't want to reuse passwords. And so the generation tool ensures that you're not using tools, you're not reusing passwords across all of your websites. Now, I did talk about dark web monitoring. This is, obviously you could try it out, but this is a premium feature, so you do have to buy, the premium subscription. Now, I want to switch over to a very team focused, which is, I think, probably the most important to you. When you're dealing with teams in your organizations, there's an extra set of capabilities that you need. One is obviously managing those users, making sure you're only paying for your employees and not anybody else. But second, obviously, you want to be able to share these passwords with all of your other members out there. And so the first thing I'll do is actually I'll take you to the admin console. So if I click here, more, and take you to open the admin console. The admin console is, think of your IT administrator. The IT administrator at your company, or even you, or the head of the organization, who really believes that the password managers need to be deployed in your organization. You can create this and you can start adding users. And so it says invite your team to DashLane. So I'm going to just add a random user, pdemoemployee@yahoo.com. Okay, I'll click on send an invitation, and now an invitation has been sent. Now I'm going to switch gears. I've been so far the IT admin. I've been the security champion in your company. I'm going to switch over to the employee view. Okay, so now I'm an employee. I go to my email. I access my email, and oh, I see an invitation that says I've been invited. Okay, and so this is my email address. Of course, I'm this employee, and I get this email that says you're invited to DashLane. I click on get started. It says welcome to DashLane. It asks me to create an account because this is the first time I'm ever doing this. Now here I'm creating the master password, that one password that you need to remember in order to sign in and get all of your data. So this is the one password that should be really strong but really memorable. Could include your kid's name, all your kids' name, all your pet's name, everything combined. Make it as secure as possible, but do not use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we'll make sure, all the tools also make sure that it's unique, right? So I'll create a password that I believe is good. and created my account. And the next step they'll do is like, okay, great, you've created an account. Let's make sure that you can actually use DashLane. And so very simply, again, it's all a browser extension, which just means that it gets, added up here. I add extension, and this works for any browser, any major browser. So Firefox, Google Chrome, Microsoft's like latest browser called Edge, which is what I'm using right now. It supports all of the browsers out there, so you don't ever need to worry. It does not, no extension, no password manager now accepts or supports Internet Explorer. So that is something that you have to be mindful of, but I would also encourage you to not use Internet Explorer going forward, given it's been deprecated by Microsoft. So great, it's been now installed on my computer, and all I need to do is now click on login, sign in using the employee account that I just created. It will ask me to validate that I am who I say I am, and then I'm signing in now. So I am now an employee. So this orange, just remember that this orange color means that I'm an employee. I get all the same things. I can now import my passwords. I can see all my own notes. But this is completely separate. This experience is completely separate from the admin experience, which, just to reiterate, is this pink bar. This is the admin user, and then here you have the orange bar, which is the employee, right? Now, this is the amazing part. This is the piece that I think is really interesting. I'm an employee. I am, going back to the app, I'm a admin administrator. I have a client, and we're supposed managing their Google account for whatever reason. I have a client that we want to share information about. All I do is click here, click share. Oops. I type in the email address. I can add a new contact of this team member that is on my team. Click next. And then for this, I say, okay, I just want to give them full rights. This is not super sensitive. There's two different rights, and we can talk about it in a bit. But there is in this particular case, I'm just going to give them the ability to control all of it. I hit share. Now I go back to the employee view, and once I hit refresh, I guess there's a second delay. Oops. I think I typed in the email right. So, oh, there we go. Yeah, so it came now. So I would get an email that says, hey, someone has sent you a password. I would click on get access now, open DashLane. And then here you go. So here's the password that has been shared with me for google.com. I hit accept. I can see the details. It's exactly the same. So the password is Parakh. It's been, I created Parakh. And then on going back to the admin view. So this is the admin view. If I were to change the password here to something, say Parakh2, hit save. After a few seconds and after everything goes through, if I go back to the employee view, it should change the password. Yeah, so it'll take a few seconds, but as you could tell, it will change the password here without me having to do anything. And so if I were to go to google.com and try to sign in, the password of the user is there, and the password will be filled in exactly how I need it to be. So I never have to think about it. Every time you change the password, everybody gets it. And this is super important because if an employee leaves or someone leaves, you do want to change all of those passwords all over again. So it's just like a one-time change across all the accounts, and everybody who's connected now gets the updated passwords. Okay. So let's go back to the PowerPoint really quickly. The piece that I now want to talk about, so I've talked about, importing passwords, generating new passwords, autofilling passwords, sharing a password. Now, managing users in groups and employee termination. Let's kind of talk about that in a little bit more detail. So why are those important? Well, first, if you're an admin, so going back to the admin view, and I go to the administrator console, the first thing I showed you is the users tab. This is where I can actually, control all of my users, control their permissions. I can also see the passwords that they have and the type of passwords that they have. Sorry. So, if they had a lot of safe, weak, reused, compromised passwords, this will show up. The reason why it's 0 is because there is this concept of business data and then personal data that DashLane creates, and they only report on the business data. I can provide more details on that, but just note that I created a Google and a Facebook account. All that data was my personal account, but there is a concept, and this is where it's interesting. I can say okay, there's a business-based domain. So if anybody creates an account on icai.com, for example, right? Any passwords created on this domain should always be put in the business space. And this is really important because generally for your clients, generally for your business use cases, you're usually using a specific email or a specific domain that is always used attached to your work account. Another example, for example, I work at Stripe, right? So if I put in stripe.com, let's semicolon, and hit save, every time I create a username that has stripe.com in it, it will be put in the business space. And the reason why this is really important is because when the employee gets, terminated, or the employee terminates and they leave your organization, and you say, you kick them out, and you would say, okay, I'm going to revoke this user from DashLane, all of the passwords and all of the data that is related to one of the business-based domains will get removed from their account. They will never have access to it again. And so that is really the benefit of DashLane, is that folks can't just copy paste. I mean, of course they could be very malicious and store the username passwords on a piece of paper on the side, but for that, there is a level of trust that you have to do. But on the other side, you can now actually just, every time they leave, you revoke access, and all your business data is still secure and it's still protected. So just to kind of explain and illustrate that point, let me, I've created stripe.com as a domain that I think is important. So this is my email. So let's say I've created an account somewhere on Google. So let's go back. I'm an employee. I'm going to switch over to the employee profile, and I go back to DashLane, and I create a new Google account that is, it's on the website google.com, and it's Parakh at stripe.com. Let's just say that's my email, and I've created a password that is super secure. Doesn't really matter. Now, this will automatically actually be in this personal space. So if I hit save, okay, it does take a little bit of time for it to refresh. Just the whole system takes a bit of time. But what would happen effectively is that this would automatically get forced into the demo company space, which is the name of my company in this case. And when I leave, when I get revoked from the company, this credential will get deleted. However, this credential will not get deleted because it is in the personal space. Because I have it in my personal space, it's my personal credentials. And so what this is doing is it's encouraging a split between your personal life and your professional life. So for employees, you get to use the password manager for both use cases. And this is really, really important because users can be reusing passwords across both your personal and your organization. And that is where the biggest risk comes from, right? If my Facebook account gets hacked and I'm reusing the same password with my work account, that is going to cause a huge, and the Facebook password gets breached, then my work account is also at risk. And so what this is doing is that it's encouraging all of your employees to use a password manager in their personal and their business life, and it's also allowing you to use it's allowing you to maintain and control your business data while giving your employees the privacy for their personal data. Great. So yeah, let me just refresh and make sure it's Okay, it's still letting me do it. Yeah, the idea would be that they will never be able to make it a personal credential. Great, that's pretty much it to us. The one other idea what I want to call out, and this is more for cases where now you have many clients. So we go back to the admin profile and we go to this concept of groups. This is where you have a lot of clients and you want to manage different client data more easily. So you have, suppose you just create a group called client A, and maybe you have a group called client B. Now, in this group, you can add any members that are working on the client A's, returns, data, etc. So suppose that, my employee, this employee is working on client A's data. Now, once this user accepts to join this group, they'll get a notification again, an email that says, hey, join this group. Every time I want to share client A's credential, I just now need to share it with the client A group. I don't need to share it with the 4 or 5 employees individually. I can just share with the group, and this group gets all of the credentials for that client. So let's just see the full example. So let's go back to the employee. Let's go back to their email. I've been the company. The employee has been asked to join this group. They click on join group. Again, open DashLane, hit accept. Great. So now I am part of the group client A. So I, being the employee, is part of the client A group. Now, let's say there's a password out there. So I am an administrator. I have been asked, I have been told that I went in and created an account for a client, and let's say this is their Twitter account. For some reason, we've given them we have access to the client's Twitter account. So now what I can do is I can click on share, and instead of typing in that one employee, I can actually just type in that group. Okay, there is a delay, unfortunately. Okay, well, so there is a delay, but what you would be able to do, like it says, enter an email or group name. The client A group would show up, and you can just share with the client. You can just share with the group, and then if employee stops working for that group or is now changed projects and working for a different client, you can just remove them from that group, and all the shared credentials will go away. You no longer have to think about it. You don't have to manage it. You don't have to change passwords. Again, all the passwords are just restricted, and all that information now goes away. Perfect. So let's continue on with the presentation. Now, one of the things that Maitri was talking about was this concept of policies. Policies are how you actually can enforce information on the users. Sorry, not information. How you can enforce some security settings on the user. So, for example, I was talking about this concept of forcing passwords to business space. That's a policy that I applied so that anything that goes to stripe.com gets forced to the business space, so that when the employee leaves, all the business space data is removed from their DashLane account. Second, you can even control how long the user signed in DashLane. You can force them to sign out after X minutes or X days for your security needs. This is sometimes required for IT, for government compliance, etc. And so it's really useful to make sure that you have that policy. You can even control the minimum strength. Maybe you just only care about the capital letters and lowercase letters and numbers, or you also care about capital letters, lowercase letters, numbers and symbols, and then or you also care about the length. You can control how long the password is when it's stored in DashLane, and therefore how secure the password is for that website. You can also prohibit sharing or export of passwords. Right now, I can, on DashLane, just export or share with folks that I don't want to. You can prevent that as well. And then you can require users to change their passwords after X time. This is not a policy supported by DashLane, but it is supported by some other password tools out there. In fact, these are just few of many policies out there that you can apply onto your employees so that you are more secure as an organization. One thing I didn't talk about is reporting, and that's because I actually didn't have all the data. I don't have employees using DashLane, and it generally requires a lot of like usage over time. And so I wanted to share a screenshot of what happens when you've been using a password manager for a while. What you start realizing is you start getting insights into the health of your organization. And what I mean by that is we get to see, you know, your organization has a lot of compromised passwords, or your organization has a lot of reused passwords, your organization has a lot of weak passwords. You can start looking at which employees have these issues, and you can start telling them, hey, please, you know, like doing a campaign to help reduce the number of weak, reused, and compromised passwords, and then bring up your overall security score. Again, the security score is just a measure of how secure you are as an organization. You can also audit, and when you're talking about auditing, and so there's a couple of things you want to audit. For example, you want to check every time the IT admin, you know, either creates or deletes or disables or reactivates an employee discount. If anything ever goes bad, you always have a track record of what happened. So just to show you on DashLane side, if I was an administrator, going back to the admin console, and I click on activity log, I can see that, oh, this employee joined the client A group. Oh, this employee, you know, invited this employee to the client A group. All of these things are getting tracked. So if anything ever goes wrong, you know exactly who did and who did what, and you can trace back to really figure out, okay, what the issues are and why the issue happened, and you can prevent that from happening again in the future. You can also, obviously, we can check whenever an IT admin modifies policies, but whenever an IT admin does stuff, you can actually track that. But what's even more important is that, you know, when the user is doing like things such as they're creating passwords, sharing passwords, or exporting passwords, that also gets tracked. If there's ever a breach and it happens for a specific client, you know who's involved because you know who's in the group, you know like what each user did, and if there was any sort of risk, like they changed all the passwords because they were trying to be malicious, you have a track record of who did that. If, you know, whenever a user autofills data in a website, you can actually see what websites they're signing into and and how often they're doing it. And then the user can also, whenever a user changes master password, you can track that as well. And then more on reporting, which I talked about, you can have security reports, which is what I showed you earlier. But then you can also have usage reports. You know, how often are users signing in using a password manager? All of this is really important for you to know, like how valuable is the password manager for your organization? Is it worth the investment? And maybe you want more usage out of it because like only 2 employees are using it, even though you've invited 100 of them. And that's not good for your organization because then you're still not as secure as you could be. And so this helps you then really figure out how to like go tackle some of the challenges there. For my last few slides, I just want to talk about how you can pick a password manager. The first, and this is I think very, very important, it has to be easy to use. I showed you DashLane, which is one of many password managers. The selling point of DashLane that we always pitched on was the ease of use. But the reason why this is really important is because if your employees find the tool frustrating or they find the tool hard to use, they will not use the password manager. They will continue to use a sticky note, write down the password on the side, use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as your passwords, reuse passwords across applications. They will do all the bad practices that the password manager is trying to avoid because they can't use the password manager because it's very difficult. They haven't been trained. So how easy it is to use is incredibly important because that is generally going to be your first line of failure when it comes to making sure your organization is secure. Second is then you start looking into the actual capabilities. How easy is it for me to, you know, manage my users? Does it work with my existing IT system? What are the policies that we really need, that we care about, that are supported? What are the auditing and reports, logs that we really want? All of these then become secondary. Then I would say look into pricing. I think pricing wise, most of them are roughly the same. Some could be like, you know, a little bit more expensive, a little less expensive. Some have more capabilities, less capabilities. There's a lot of pricing plans. So that becomes way more complicated, but it is really important to first figure out what it is that you want. And then lastly, if all else is equal, I would pick on popularity. Popularity because it increases the chance that it sticks around, like the password manager will be supported long term. You don't want something that gets deprecated. But two, if it's popular, then your employees are more likely to used to it already. Maybe your more tech savvy employees are using password manager already, and so you can then just benefit from their usage. And so just wanted to call out some popular business password managers: LastPass, DashLane, 1Password, Zoho Vault, Bitwarden, and Keeper. Again, there's many others. Like I've heard there's like 20 plus password managers. It is becoming a commodity. So pick the one that works best for you. But at the end of the day, they're all roughly the same. However, some have more capabilities than others when it comes to administrative requirements. Now, as for my like this extra bonus topic, we've talked a lot about passwords so far. The main reason why, again, you want to use a password manager in your organization, and the main justification for the price is security, and obviously productivity because it saves you time. However, there is an additional tool that you can also implement to reduce your risk of security breach, which is a multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication, you're probably used to it in your day-to-day life. Sometimes we call it OTP, which is one-time password. So you get that SMS on your phone that forces you to enter code. There are also apps like the one on the right that generate codes for you. So you have to open the app on your phone every time and enter this code. All this is saying it's two factors. One is your password that you have to remember. And then second, something that you, in a sense, have. In this case, you have your phone to receive a text messages. You have an app that generates this code. All of these things make it like really secure because, even if your passwords get breached, they get sent to the dark web, there's hackers, trying a dictionary attack on all your passwords, they would then still need to be able to generate this one-time code that's time sensitive to be able to then sign in. And so it adds a strong layer of security that I would also encourage. And then the other, sometimes typing in the code is annoying. There are systems right now that are becoming more advanced where you get a push notifications. So I don't know if you use Gmail, but Gmail lately has been starting, if you're signed into Gmail on your cell phone, it will then send you a notification on your Gmail app that lets you sign in. So last minute thoughts, just to round this up. Again, there are many password managers available. I am biased, but definitely here to say that they are life-changing. They save you a lot of time, save your employees a lot of time, and they protect you and your organization. It's worth looking into. Try it out for 1 year, if nothing else, and see what a difference it makes, even in your personal life or in your organization. Once you see the benefit, then it will be hard to look back. Again, as I called out, there's a lot more capabilities than just using Excel sheets. Excel sheets are great. You can store information, but updating it, finding it, and storing other sorts of forms of information, it can get very complicated very quickly. And so the coolest part is you can just if you format it correctly, you can just import the Excel sheet into your password manager and you'll have all the data. And then lastly, employees can reuse passwords both across their personal life and their business life. So even that itself will expose your business to risk. So this isn't just about getting your employees to use a password manager at work. The safest thing you could do is actually help them use it across both their personal and business life, and ensuring that passwords are not reused across the two worlds. Great, thank you so much. I'm not sure if there's questions or if there's an opportunity for questions, but if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out via any of the 3 means.
Mishraji, do we have any questions that have been posted by any of the viewers?
So there are 3 questions here also.
Hello?
Yes sir, मैं आपको chat में question दे रहा हूँ sir.
Parakh, you need to look at your chat. He is sending you all the questions.
फिर आपको मैंने question दिया ना मैम.
So So the questions which were sent to me have been answered, I believe. So if there are additional questions, Mishra ji aap bhejiye. Parakh, if you can check the chat box, you will get your share of questions.
I am looking. I don't see any question. Chat box is blank.
Blank. Okay.
So
मिश्रा जी आपने भेजे हैं अभी क्वेश्चंस और we should conclude?
देखिए सर,
मिश्रा जी मुझे भेज दीजिए, मैं इनको पूछ लेती हूँ.
हाँ.
So I got a question here. Banking passwords need to be changed every 90 days. How do you memorize an ever-changing password? With the password manager, you never have to memorize a password. Every time it changes, you just generate a new one, and you're signed in. I completely agree. Memorizing ever-changing passwords is very difficult, and so I would recommend using a password manager. You never have to think about it ever again. However, if you do, sometimes I like to use a pattern. You increment the number. That's the most common thing. It's the least safe, but the most efficient. It's the most safe, but the least mentally taxing way of doing this. And so, find your phrase like, kid's name, pet's name, everything together, and then add a 1 or 2, and then keep incrementing the number. But again, would recommend using a password manager.
Okay, so Parakh, can you compare LastPass and DashLane? I mean,
Yeah. So LastPass is there's two things here. LastPass has way more capabilities, and in the sense that they've invested a lot on their business side early on, and so they have a lot of these extra policies that you can use to enforce and track what your employees are doing. However, the constant feedback that we receive from LastPass users, and why many of them switch over to DashLane, is that the user experience is a little bit more confusing. And so going back to the selling point that you want to use something that employees can actually find intuitive and easy to use. The biggest difference really is that like DashLane makes it super easy to use, and LastPass has all the capabilities, but might be harder to use. It really depends. Like most large organizations, like most of the biggest companies, actually end up using LastPass because those capabilities and those being able to enforce those policies is very important to them. And so they're willing to take on the risk of saying, okay, maybe we'll have one less person using the password manager, but it is important for them to have that policy in place. Any other thoughts?
Yes, there's one more question. Are these password browser specific on a particular PC, or how is it? I think you would mention that, but you might need to clarify again.
There are browser specific, but in the sense that every major browser supports it. So chances are, if you're using Chrome, Safari, Edge, Firefox, Opera, Brave, there's a lot of really big browsers. They're all supported. The only one that I sometimes call out is Internet Explorer, but that's because Internet Explorer by itself has been deprecated by Microsoft, and it's not as secure, so password managers no longer support it either.
Okay, is Norton Password Manager good?
I have never looked into it, so I can't say anything. Sometimes you do get bundled. You get password managers bundled with everything else. So if it's cheap, it's useful for you, I think it's a good starting point. You can always export your data and import it to a different one when you feel that the need has come.
Okay, is any password manager desktop based as well, or all browser based?
All of them are browser based. Only LastPass, 1Password, at least among the major ones, also have browser desktop applications.
So I would like to add this for all the participants, that there are a lot of comparisons available online, right? So in case you are deciding on any kind of password manager, you can have a look at those comparison. What Parakh here was trying to do is show you how a particular password manager will work. So it would be similar, maybe some features plus minus and here and there, but this is how it would work. That's the idea of giving a demo of a specific password manager. You could obviously have a look at the comparisons which are available. All the product sites, a lot of sites do comparison and give you pros and cons vis-a-vis the license fees and everything. So that you could use. You can always use a free trial version for 15 days or something and see what works best for you. And for the bank password, I think, sir, you've also mentioned that, how do you do this without a password manager? So without a password manager, obviously, if you have a multiple bank account or a lot of passwords, you will need to save it somewhere. Then you'll have to use the techniques which I had shared for, making new passwords, unique passwords, and save them somewhere where people are not able to access it easily, not keep it lying around. You'll have to use your imagination for that, and make it secure so that it's not easily available even on your computer, or maybe if you've written it down on a book, then it should not be available just lying around anywhere. That's the this you could take, precautions you could take. Okay, so if you have 500 PAN as username as a common domain in income tax, would we still require an Excel file to match client name against PAN? We use Brave and Firefox. One second, I did not get your question. If you have 500 PANs as username in a common domain, so like, yeah, income tax site, you have 500 PAN cards. So basically, those are the username. Do you still require an Excel file to match the client name? So yes, if you have, if your password is not the username based password, then you will need a username to check against the PAN number, right? Since you're not using a password manager, you're using Firefox browser. So in case you're using a password manager, then I think Parakh should be able to answer your question. But the way he had shown that how all the accounts are managed, this is how you'll probably need to use the password manager while making 500 different accounts. So I think within a user, Parakh, there's no limit, right, of how many line items should be there to save the passwords?
That's right, no limit. You can add all of them, and then in the notes you can also add the name or to distinguish between who the PAN
Right.
is.
PAN. And then maybe as an admin, I can assign certain PANs to a certain employee, right? So
Right.
that also can be done. So yes, that could be done using a password manager where you will not need to do this. And again, since a good password practice would be to not keep your passwords username based. That's why if you have a PAN number as username, ideally do try not to keep the passwords which are PAN based again, so that it's easy to crack. I hope that answers your question.
And I think Brave, they had something about Brave. All those browsers work too, Firefox and Brave.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's the end of the questions over here. Let me just browse up and see if there's anything else. I don't think there's anything else now.
Super. I think let's even we have crossed the time as well. I must say, Maitri and Parakh, topic looked to be very simple. I'm very honest with you both. It looked very simple and straightforward. But believe me, when we had this 2 hours of session, first with Maitri and then with Parakh, it completely changed the perspective of looking at how we should maintain password, what we should do in life. It's a life management as well, not just the password management, I believe. So thank you so much for introducing to the techniques as well as the tools. I'm sure most of us are going to check out few of those tools immediately as soon as we sign off. Thank you so much again for giving your time and addressing the session. Thank you everyone from the participants as well for joining and having this wonderful webinar. Thank you again. Goodbye.
Thank you.